Bonjour, my name is David DeVere. I'm a wine educator and traveler, and you're watching Savvy Nomad TV, the Eau de Vie edition. We're on day 11 of the Costco Wine Advent Box. Let's see what little tiny bottle of treasure the box has got for us today. Almost halfway through. If you don't know what we're doing, we're tasting these tiny little bottles every single day for the first 24 days of December. Of course, you can taste them whenever you want because it's the internet and you can do whatever you want on the internet, I guess. 11. Let's get back to what I'm doing. Let's open number 11. It's up here. And it's a red cap, and it's a red wine. What do we got? Montepulciano di Abruzzo. Oh, I love saying that. Okay, let's taste it. I generally like Montepulciano di Abruzzo. These are nice, well-made Italian red wines that are generally pretty affordable. They're on that inexpensive range. But there's something to remember here. And it comes down to how the Italians label their wines and what do they call them and how that works. So, in France, a wine is named after the region it's grown in. Okay, so for example, you might have a Sancerre and it's a white wine. And so in Sancerre, white wines that are labeled as Sancerres are Sauvignon Blancs. Similarly, you have Vouvray. We talked about that in the Chenin Blanc bottle. The Vouvrays are Chenin Blancs from the town of Vouvray. Okay, so you can kind of go all over France, and if you know the wine region and what the wine region grows, you know what'll be in the bottle because they name all the wines after the region. Okay, great, simple. That's the rule, they stick to it. But in Italy, the rules are different. In Italy, you can name the wine after the region it's grown in, or you can actually put the grape on the label. Okay, so that seems all right, doesn't it? Because now you can go to Tuscany and you can pick up a Chianti, and then there you go. You've got Chianti in the bottle, right? Well, yes, you do. You have the Chianti region in the bottle, but the grape is Sangiovese. Oh, okay. Well, what about a Montepulciano di Abruzzo? This is obviously the Montepulciano grape from Abruzzo, right? Actually, the grape is Montepulciano di Abruzzo. Oh, so now it's the grape on the bottle. Okay. Well, the reason it gets confusing is particularly up in the Chianti region, because in Chianti, one of the best Chiantis is named after the region it's grown in. Okay, that makes sense. But it's called Vignoble de Montepulciano. Oh, so that makes people get confused because they see Montepulciano and they think, oh, well, this is a Chianti. Nope, it's not. It's the same name of the grape, but the grape from Montepulciano in Chianti region is Sangiovese. This is the Montepulciano di Abruzzo grape. Oof. And this is what makes knowing exactly what the wine is or what the grapes are in Italian wines so complicated, because they use the wording in however they want. You can have the grape on the label, you could have the region on the label, you could have the region on the label that doesn't represent the grape, you can have the same name, because the Montepulciano region does exist in Tuscany, and probably the Montepulciano di Abruzzo grape comes from that area in Tuscany around Siena, but it doesn't particularly do well there. So it was uprooted and it was sent down to Abruzzo, where it does better. It actually makes a nice wine at Abruzzo. And The Montepulciano region in Tuscany around Siena makes a great Sangiovese. It makes a great, what is it? A Chianti. Oh my gosh. You can go round and round and round and round and round with the way the Italians name their grapes. And of course, that peninsula has been growing grapes for so long that they're not even sure exactly what to call it. Anyway, let's crack into this bottle. Okay, I've filled out the top of my tasting card. Link in the description to the tasting card if you need that. I'm going to test the temperature here just because. 60.3. All right, that's fine, probably because I've been handling it, manipulating it. If you wanted to make a study of Italian grape varieties, wine growing regions, if you wanted to really know them, you could spend a lifetime doing so. The Italians make excellent, incredible wines. Some of the best Italian wines rival the best French wines. And one of those regions is up in the northern area, an area that is known as the Piedmont. And as you move further south, the wines are less famous, but good examples still exist. And they generally become less finicky, need less time in the bottle, and are a little bit easier drinking as you move further and further south. And Montepulciano di Abruzzo is one of these easy drinking, inexpensive Italian reds. If you are having any kind of Italian food, from pizza to spaghetti carbonara to anything, anything, this is a really great wine to pair with soups or a cool day, something warming and hearty. It's generally on the lighter side. It's slightly tannic in its nature, and it has some sort of red fruit. It's a young wine, and it doesn't really want to sit in that bottle for very long. So contrary to those northern Piedmont wines that like to age, like a Barolo, this wine is not going to be age-worthy. So when you pick it up at the store, make sure you drink it. Okay, let's smell this while we look at it. It looks quite nice. It's dark. It's dark red. If I hold it out to the light, I can see through it slightly. So it's kind of got a brick color, and it's deep in color. Let's smell it. Not overly aromatic on the first blush here. Smells clean, but I'm not getting much aroma off it. I did get kind of a yeasty aroma when I opened it out of the bottle, which is not necessarily that good, but I won't go as far as to call it a fault. It's not much. So looking at my chart, I'm going to say a 5 because nothing to get excited about. All right, let's taste it. It's dry. It's a medium body. The acidity it's fresh. I'm going to give it a 5. It's there, but it's not really doing anything extraordinary in my mouth. The balance, the tannins are nice and smooth here. The alcohol isn't burning my throat. The acidity seems okay. It's got good balance. It's not overly sweet. So good balance. I'll give it an 8. That's nicely balanced. Flavors and complexity. Generally, Montepulcianos are not overly complex wines, but they should show you something. They should make people say, this was better than I thought it would be. Where did you get this? How much did you pay for it? And then when you tell them $13, $14, they're like, what? Where? And then they go out and buy it. Is this showing up as a $13, $14 Montepulciano? We'll find out in complexity. It's tart. It's not overly complex. It's slightly watery. It probably will go better with food. Some flavors, I'm going to give it a 5. And the finish and length, it's a medium to a medium long finish. I can feel those tannins, the grippiness in my mouth, but those tannins are nice and they are smooth. They did a nice job integrating the tannins here. That's why the balance score is reflected higher than all those other flavor scores. So I think the finish is pretty good, and I'll give it an 8 because it's adding to my sensation. Okay, I'm going to go do my math. Okay, here are my final scores for our Montepulciano di Abruzzo. 5 for aroma, 5 for acidity, 8 for balance, 5 for complexity, 8 for finish and length, 81 points. Now, this is not an overly expressive Montepulciano di Abruzzo. There are ones that I've had that are more saturated in flavor, a little bit deeper in flavor, a little more oaky, a little more licoricey. They go great with food, but these are not wines that ever really show up to the mid-90s, low 90s. They are approachable, easy drinking, kind of a bulk wine from this part of Italy. That makes them charming and inexpensive. I like to have half a dozen bottles of these laying around. I bring them over to a friend's house. I have them here when we have hearty meals, rustic kinds of things. Italian food doesn't really sit on that range of fancy the way the French cuisine does. Italian food is just beautifully rustic and simple, and yet all those complex flavors combine to make this wonderful, wonderful cuisine that we call Italian. Okay, Montepulciano definitely has a home for me, and well, a home with me. And I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you tomorrow for day number 12. Until then, I say a tutelare and cheers.
Hello. An Italian red. Looks pretty. Smells good. Fruity. Kind of cranberry-y. I think it would go good with food. It's tart, which I sort of like. Not long lasting. It's fine. Cheers.